Morning, Joe.
Morning, Victoria. How are you?
Hot. How are you?
Yeah, same. We're hiding away. I was out this morning with the dogs at 6. I don't like anything before 6. Even the horse doesn't get before 6. But by 7, I was home and done. Thank the Lord, because the temperatures were skyrocketing.
I
There weren't
know.
enough people out at 6 o'clock for my liking, but what can you do?
No,
You can
I
only
know.
educate, right?
We're probably
So
covered
yeah,
that today. Definitely, people are. Yeah, I know. Too few people out at 5 in the morning with their dogs. I know. I've walked my dog. My was home by 8, and then I've been to the yard twice already. My horse has had two lots of hosing down already, and it's only like 11:30. It's mental.
yeah, I
Yeah,
know. It's a long old day stuck trying to stay out of the sun, isn't it?
it is. It is.
Anyway, we shouldn't be moaning because we're normally freezing cold. So
I
I'm
know.
going
Can't
to keep
win,
it
can
to
you?
that.
Well, you can't win. Well, I'm going to moan about it. If it's too hot, I'm going to moan. If it's too cold, I'm going to moan because I like a moan. So it's what it is. Um, so I thought we do because we keep going over into dog training, don't we? And on our pods, we keep chatting about dog training, and I keep saying, right, that's another pod, that's another pod. So let's do it today. And I'm so thrilled because we have Rob Alleyne with us today. Hi, Rob.
I do. Hello, everyone.
Um,
Hey, Rob.
so yeah, I'm really thrilled to sort of just chat to Rob about dog training and the state of dog training and the highs and lows of dog training because he's like been in it forever. So yeah, and that's really great. So how are you, Rob? You keeping cool?
Oh my God. I think even I've got browner. And that's not easy.
No.
No, it's
Oh yeah, it's too
mental.
hot for me. I hate this heat. Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
you?
no.
Do you
I
actually?
absolutely hate it.
Do
Hate
you?
it. Yeah. I would ban it in my world. I'd make heat illegal and I'd rather be cold. You can wrap
Oh
up for the
God.
cold.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't rather be cold, but
But
yeah,
you can wrap up when it's cold, can't you?
you
But
Yeah.
what
can,
do you
yeah.
do?
I know, but I like the sun. Yeah, it makes my mood better.
Each to their own, I suppose.
I know.
Yeah, you're talking.
It's
You're
always good
talking.
when I'm in a better mood, isn't it, Joe?
Okay.
Yeah, it really is. Nobody needs a bit of sad hanging around, do we, Vic?
Um, so Rob, tell because I've known you for a little while, but I've never really asked you. I don't how did you get into dog training? I mean, I know when I say you've been in dog training forever, I mean that's because I remember you being on TV when I was just starting. So it feels like you've been around forever. But I mean, have you? When did you start? Has it been a lifelong thing for you, or
Yeah, I've been training people and dogs over 40 years now. Yes, I did start when I was very young, before you say it.
yeah,
And
You're only 25, Rob.
that's right.
actually, I was less than that. Yeah, and I suppose I've always been dog mad. I've always been animal mad, period,
Yeah.
but particularly dogs. And I suppose what really did it for me, when I was a kid, we got a dog and he was my best friend. I worshipped this dog. And then my parents, who were not really dog people at all, as a lot of black people from that generation weren't. My parents had dogs, but they weren't like pet dogs in the UK. They didn't even have names, and it was just really a deterrent to stop people breaking in and stuff. And so when he got to 3 and I was then 12, my mother had had enough of him and just got rid of him.
Oh no.
And yep, I was
Yeah.
the only one in the family who didn't know. The
Oh,
RSPCA turned up and took my dog away, and
oh
I
no.
was devastated, absolutely devastated. Kept sending me home from school because I wouldn't stop crying and everything.
Oh,
And then finally, when I was 18, I managed to break her down and let me have another dog. And I was so worried that if this dog wasn't perfect, she would get rid of him.
Right.
So I found a dog
yeah.
training class for every night of the week. I went Monday to Friday, and I just thought this dog has to be perfect. And luckily, he happened to be a really good dog, so he's really easy to train. And that was kind of where it started. And then a friend of mine decided she didn't want to run her class anymore, and I was a member of the class with my dog, and she then offered it to me,
Mm,
and I was only, I think, 22 or something,
mm,
and was very, very shy. I was a very shy child, and the thought of standing up in front of the class and taking the class was horrific. But all that kept going through my mind was that if I do this, I can actually help other people not have to get rid of their dog. It could kind of come
Oh,
full circle,
yeah.
and other people wouldn't have to go through what I went through. And so I took over this class. I was terrified, but I took
Mm,
over the class. And it's kind of all just snowballed from there. And even now, 40 years later, my kind of ethos is always I don't want people to have to get rid of their dog because they couldn't train it. And
mm,
that's what happened in my household is I didn't know how to train the dog. I was only 12, and my parents weren't interested in training the dog, and as a result, he went. And I see rescues that are full of dogs that didn't need to be there because nobody knew how to train the dog. Not because the dog was inherently bad or inherently naughty. He just that nobody knew how to teach him. And so that's always been my thing, to try and teach people how to teach dogs so that hopefully less dogs end up in rescue.
Oh,
And here I am today.
that's awesome. What breeds did you have? Where were you, Rob, when all this went on? Where were you living?
So I was born in the UK. So I lived in then I was living in a place called South Norwood, which is near Croydon.
So did the
And
dog
that,
live out? You're sorry, your first dog, did he live outside?
no, no.
Oh, so the home.
I
home
remember my parents used to insist on him staying in the kitchen. He lived in the kitchen, and of course, in those days that wasn't
that was
unusual.
normal, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember once asking my mother if he could come into the living room with us, and she was like, "Do you know how lucky that dog is to be in the house? Why would I have him in my living room? Go and ask your friends where their dogs are living. They're all out in the garden." And that was kind of the end of that conversation.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he lived indoors, but he lived in the kitchen, and she'd only really let us have him to shut us up, you know, or shut me up. So she never felt he should have any particular status or privilege. He was just lucky to be living there as far as she was concerned. And so I grew up with that understanding that a dog was supposed to kind of know its place, and none of it really rang with me, but I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
So as soon as I was able to get my own dog, and actually by the time she let us have that dog, or let me have that dog, he was allowed the run of, well, he wasn't allowed in the bedrooms, he wasn't allowed upstairs, but he had the run of downstairs. So even by then, even her mentality had changed.
Yeah.
And he was now allowed to have access, you know.
Yeah.
Was it a mongrel, your first dog? I only asked because in those days they were all mongrels, weren't they? Like,
They were. So I got him from Battersea. He was believed at the time to be a pedigree Labrador. But by the time he was adult, you could see there was something else in there. He looked like a Labrador. Most people thought he was a lab, but there were little telltale signs that something else was in there, possibly collie. He had that classic white stripe down his nose, white chest, white tip on the tail. But
Yeah.
other than that, he looked like a kind of yellow lab, but slightly lighter build. But yeah, oh my God, that
But
dog
you
was
know,
very special.
I've had clients that whose parents rehomed their dogs without telling them, like, sorry, rehomed or actually put to sleep more commonly their dogs while the kids are at school, and every single one of them has been traumatized by the whole
Yeah,
affair.
yeah,
Actually, it's the one thing that I'm like, no, involve your kids. Your kids
yeah.
need to be here. And when we lost Hoagie, you know, literally whatever it was now, two months back, you know, I'm getting my kids from the corners of where they are, and they need to be here to feel like they've had a part in this decision. Because I just, as an adult, I suppose you just want to protect to a degree, and you know, it's not going to concern the child. They'll be fine. They'll bounce back. But actually, you forget how impactful, you know, these sorts of things would be.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
God, I used to wander the streets looking for him. I used to
I
keep
can
thinking
imagine.
I'll find him, you know. So I just
oh,
kept
okay.
wandering for
Oh,
days looking for my dog.
oh,
And
Thing
she
is,
used
I
to
think
just say, because my mother
attitude.
was very practical, and she's like, "Well, if you find that dog and you bring him home, what do you think I'm going to do? Do you think I'm going to let you keep him? Oh, I'll just get rid of him again, you know." But
oh,
I
no.
couldn't stop, you know. It went on for weeks. They kept sending me
Oh,
home from school because I was upsetting all the other kids because I wouldn't stop
oh
crying and
no.
stuff. It was
Oh,
Yeah.
completely devastating. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
And I
oh.
yeah.
never really got over it.
No.
The thing is, attitudes have changed towards dogs, and
Yeah.
haven't they? You know, like in those days, dogs, they were just, we were more like way farmers treat their dogs, like a real kind of, you know, they're just a, you know, they're here, and they live in the kitchen, like you said, or they live out in the garden, or they'll go out for walks on their own or whatever. And now our dogs are, I mean, they're literally part of the family.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they really are. And, you know, that obviously then spills in my opinion, that spills over to, you know, like they're like children, which of course is partly, I think, why we have so many problems. But so I think we've swung right over, haven't we, from
We have.
being maybe a little bit too non-involved with them, or, you know, separate, to being so attached to them.
Yeah.
Or we've kind of done
I think if we go back to when we were kids, the dog was seen kind of mostly as the kid's responsibility. You know, your parents would say, "Get that dog up the park, go and take that dog for a walk." Da, 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 da.
yeah.
And but if you think back when we were kids, the parks were full of kids walking dogs. when do you see kids walking dogs now? And the funny thing was,
No.
those dogs would do exactly what we told them, and we were just kids. The
Yeah.
dog would stay with you. It didn't run off and disappear into the sunset. It didn't drag you down the street. You could physically hold it. The dogs were so much better behaved, you know.
I
How
know.
is that? And why is that then? That
Well,
they
and
would, you know, do that.
interestingly, I had to send Max out this morning into the garden to bring my little rugrat Russell in because he wasn't coming for me. He was just sitting there watching the birds fly. But I sent Max out, who's what, 13 now, and he was following him straight away. I was like, there you go. He's like, why can't you get in? I went, because he knows I'm rushing. So he was just sitting there, does it? He does it on purpose, Jack, right? Max just went out, come on, Sprout. That was it. He was in. So yeah, you bang on. Like that,
Yeah.
that kind of not overthinking it, just being organic with them, chilled, which is how kids generally are, is just way more powerful than what we do as adults. The
Yeah,
structure, the routine, and the I always think this as well, and I think it's a very fine line to have all this knowledge and understanding of dogs and know how important boundaries are and awareness of personal space, and balancing that with, I feel over the years I've lost some of that relaxed love that I just used to go. I used to throw myself on the floor as a vet nurse. Like I loved them so much. And now I'm like really conscious of my behavior. And I think, some part of it, I've just let it go a little bit with Sprout because I want to enjoy him, because there is a part of me that just thinks our dogs have to be so regimental because of what we do. But actually, do I ever get to just completely relax and not worry about his recall or his sit or his, how his manners are around somebody else? It's not nice, is it?
No, it's really interesting you should say that, because it's so true. Like, because obviously I've had, I don't know about, we'll ask you what your breeds are in a minute, Rob, but my breeds tend to be Rottweilers, German Shepherds. They're the kind of breeds, the two main ones that I go for. And so because I've had these powerful breeds, I've had, they've always been really, really highly trained. I've made sure that my Rotties are like, listen to me every moment and come back every single, and all these things are like regimented. And I used to keep not like like you're saying, Joanna, because I'm a behaviorist and trainer. I was like, my dogs have got to be perfect, they've got to be really good. And so I've had this husky now, which is just a hilarious story. I've had this husky now for like 6 months, and it cracks me up because he's a husky, right? So I'm like, well, I can't train him, he's completely untrainable. And so I have him on my lap, he jumps all over the furniture.
That's why he's untrainable.
I'm having so much
I
fun.
wonder why he does
that. I'm just, but he cracks me up. But the point is, because I'm using this, he's not a Rottweiler, he's a husky. So most people think, I mean, I don't agree with that. I think huskies can be trained to a point. I do. But because I'm using that, oh, he's a husky, he's untrainable, I've got that in my head. So actually, I can just enjoy him. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But we have this. He just cracks me up. I mean, he's just out there in the garden creating havoc, and I'm just like, yeah. Well, he's
whatever. I think
would
that's
never have let my Rotties or my Shepherds or my Spits do any of that. But it's just, it's nice. It's nice. I don't care.
Well, but going back to what Jo said, is there was a time there was a kind of middle ground, where you kind of could let your dogs and your kids kind of get on with stuff because you knew there was enough basic understanding of how the world worked that they wouldn't do any massive screw ups, And so I think there's that flexibility that should allow us to say to our dog, look, I'm going to pretend this isn't happening and kind of let you get away with that, because I know that back down here, somewhere right at the back, there's a line you're not supposed to cross. And within that, they should have that freedom to kind of be a dog, Yeah.
No, I agree. No, 100%. I mean, Andy says to me, he's got over himself. Andy's my husband, sorry, he's got over himself now, but he used to be really like, he's digging the garden. I'm like, I know. But we can't stop him doing everything that he is innately bred to do. We can have boundaries, and he's a good boy. He's very well behaved. He comes when he's called. I mean, I can walk him. I walk this dog off lead every single day. Most people that own huskies say they never let them off the lead. He's a good boy. So I think to myself, actually, if he wants to dig a hole in the garden, so be it. I can't take everything away. What are you laughing at, Jo?
Ain't digging any holes in my Jack Russell comes to your house and starts digging holes for Australia, I'm not going to be happy.
Well, I know
he comes back barking his head off, humping everything and
nice.
digging holes.
You're a bad influence. You're a bad influence.
She's under pressure. In August, that'll be it. So what have you got, Rob? What breeds have you got?
I haven't got any at the moment. I'm dog free.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm kind of in between dogs. My last one died, and I mean, they always hit hard, but that one hit
Yes.
particularly hard.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't I couldn't even have a dog in the house. I couldn't
Yeah.
have friends bring their dogs over. Just
Oh,
the sound of hearing claws on the floor would send me into tears.
oh.
And and so I just couldn't have one. And that just kind of went on and on and on and on and on. And then I nearly had one. I finally decided, okay, I think I'm ready to have a dog. And it was going to be the first bought dog that I'd ever had. All my dogs have been rescues up until now. And I finally decided, okay, I was ready to get one. And then tragedy struck, and the whole litter died of that fading puppy syndrome at 4 weeks old.
Oh, gee.
And that was just horrendous. And
Oh,
and
dear.
then kind of knocked me back again.
Mm.
And so I just haven't got another one since.
No, I
And
get that.
yeah,
Mm.
it was a lot. So some of those old kind of pains from when I'd lost that one that my mum gave away, that same lack of control when your dog is just suddenly gone. And every time one dies, it kind of takes me back to that sense of lack of control, you know, that you can't do anything about it. It's gone. That's that. Get over it. And so I don't tend to cope very well when I lose them. And it's kind of
Yeah.
put me off of getting another one now.
No, I
So
get it.
I'm just going to look after other people's dogs, I've decided. I'll get people who have uncontrollable dogs, bring your husky round. I'll have it here for a few weeks.
Oh, please. Can
You
we book
can't
it in
come.
next week?
I don't want any people, so I'll have the dog. Then when I get bored of it, I'll just give it back, and then I'll get
Fine,
another
you're on. You can have my husky. He was a rescue. I got him at 11 months. He'd spent 11 months in a crate, literally, hadn't seen the outside, hadn't been outside the door. So I got him about 12 months. He went to a foster
Wow.
home first. And he just had everything was completely new. So I've got this 18-month-old dog that is literally a puppy. And he still has the zoomies.
hmm
It's absolutely what I love him. He's so funny. I love him to death.
But the
But
zoomies are so cute,
Joe's
aren't they?
so not impressed with me.
Love the zoomies. But I love the zoomies with other people's dogs in other people's
Yeah,
houses.
not
Yeah.
Not in my house. Don't do that in my house. No.
No.
But they're cute. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a bit big for the zoomies, but he does make me laugh when he's doing it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've all been rescues. They were
What
just
breeds do you
something.
like, Rob? Like what are your
Um,
if you had to, what do you go for? What floats your boat?
there's loads of breeds that I really like. I tend to like really big dogs or really small dogs. And I tend to go for one or the other. And other than that, they've always just been what came along. My last two have been shepherds, and certainly people always think of me as being a shepherd man, but it's really just because my last two have happened to be shepherds. The one that I was getting this time was going to be a Labrador, but I kind of just it's whatever I meet at the time that I just think, oh, I like that, and I'll have it. Sometimes it's something that somebody says, can't be fixed, and the trainer in me goes, oh, my last one, he was from a top show winning breeder. She qualifies her dogs for crufts every year, but I kept getting dogs that had come from this breeder, and clients would have these dogs who weren't nervous. They were like phobic. They'd say, I take him to the park. If he sees another dog, he doesn't avoid it. He goes home. If he sees a
Oh,
person, he runs home. He's out the park and gone. And they were coming from this particular breeder, who, as I say, she qualifies for crafts every year, very highly respected in the breed.
mm,
And she didn't live that far away from me. And I thought, what is this woman doing with these dogs that's making them so fearful? And so I pretended I was interested in getting one. And I just wanted to see what was going on. So I said I was interested in getting one. I went to her house. She happened to have a litter of puppies there. And they were the most fearful puppies I'd ever seen. And
Wow.
I was an animal welfare officer for 20 years. I've seen some fearful dogs. But these puppies, they come running forward. They were just coming up to 4 weeks. And then I walked into the room and they just started screaming and climbing over each other, trying to get away. They were absolutely terrified. Who's that? Who's that? And the next thing I could hear this voice saying, yeah, I'd really like one, please. And can I have that one? And suddenly I was picking one of these puppies and I said, can I have that one? Which was the smallest, kind of runtiest, most frightened one of the lot. And even she was saying, don't you want one of these big ones? I was like, no, 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 I'd like that little one there, please. And of course, she was glad to get rid of the runt of the litter. So she said, fine, it's yours. And it was that thing of wanting to save him. He's never going to be a healthy, happy dog in the average home. I need to take this dog and see if I can fix him, you know. So I took on this dog, and suddenly I was buying a German Shepherd. And I mean, he ended up being fabulous. He was great with people, great with other dogs. He was, you would never have thought he had a problem, but he was definitely the hardest dog I'd ever had to work on. He was terrified of everything. If he was out in the garden, a leaf blew across the garden, he'd run in screaming. If people tried to approach him, he would pee himself, poo himself. He was, and I'm talking by the time he was 13, 14 weeks old, you know, he was petrified of everything. So I had to try and get him out of all that. And he became a wonderful dog, but it was hard work because even something like the ping of the microwave, he'd wet himself. What's that? What's that?
Yeah.
But I learned a lot. Sorry?
Did you find out what she was doing, or was it just genetics?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
I did. So she said to me at one point, she said, okay, are you okay with dogs? And I said, yep. She said, okay, I'm going to introduce you to my pack, she said. And she said, I'm going to let them in. She said, as long as you don't move, you'll be okay.
Oh, my God.
Now, bear in mind, this woman thinks I'm just an ordinary pet owner. She doesn't know I've ever done dog training. She says, as long as you don't move, you'll be okay. She opens the door, and these 12 German Shepherds burst into the room. They're literally on my lap, snarling and growling into my face. And all I can hear is her going, don't move, stay still, don't move. As long as you don't move, you'll be all right. Don't move, stay still, don't move. Until eventually they all kind of calmed down. But if I moved, if I just went like that, you'd hear all these dogs start growling and snarling. She only bred her own dogs to her own dogs. So she was just breeding fearful dogs to fearful dogs to fearful dogs over and over and over again. They never went out. They never went for walks. They never went to the park. They never went anywhere. If they lived in kennels at the bottom of the garden, they would go from the kennel to the car, from the car to the show, from the show to the car, from the car to the kennel. That was their lives. So, of course, they never experienced anything for generations. And then you give one to a pet owner who wants to take it to the park, and the kids want to introduce it to their friends and so on. And for generations, these dogs haven't experienced that. So, of course, they freak out, you know. But she, eventually, I did tell her who I was and told her my concerns, but she maintained there was nothing wrong with her dogs. Her dogs are perfectly fine. No, there's nothing wrong with them. They've got wonderful temperaments.
But don't you think that there is why we'll never change the dog industry? We'll never change all the, I mean, it's the dog industry, our state of our pet dogs is so dreadful right now. I think that the state of ownership, the state of rescue, the state of dogs coming in from abroad, the state of training, you know, it's such a huge, vast subject that I kind of get stuck in my head with it because it's so much. You know, there's millions of trainers all over the place. Just I live in a village, and there's so many behaviourists in my village.
I know, they're popping up every day.
Mental. It's like they've done a weekend course and now they're behaviourist, and it's just, and I find it really, and with attitudes like that. From people who, you know, they're breeding these dogs and getting them out. It's so vast. I don't know how we're ever going to make any kind of impact and change with this industry that just seems to be charging along at a very high speed into a black hole.
Well, it's that old saying, isn't it? A little knowledge is a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
And what we keep seeing is people with a little bit of knowledge who then say, okay, well, now I'm a behaviorist, or now I'm a trainer. And what happens is at some point down the road, they're maybe going to find out that that wasn't the right advice. But how much damage have they done? But, you know, one of the things I often talk about is you decide you want to be a trainer and start running classes. And what do people always start with? They always start with puppies.
Yeah.
And so you have the least experienced people dealing with the most vulnerable group of dogs.
Yeah.
That's probably not going to go well. And by the time they get enough knowledge, how many dogs may they have messed up by then? It's really weird. You know, the beginner trainer should always start with older dogs.
100%.
Who are much more able to bounce back, who are much more resilient. But no, they always start with puppies and mess up generation after generation of puppies. But the thing is, what I try and always focus on is nobody becomes a dog trainer or a behaviorist or a behavioral trainer or whatever you want to call them Nobody becomes one to deliberately screw up dogs.
No.
There's thousands of them screwing up dogs, but that wasn't their intent when they started.
Yeah.
But it can take a real long time. If I think of some of the things I've done in dog training, because I had to start blind, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have somebody to follow. The first dog trainer I ever went to, he was he was an abuser. And he
Yeah.
taught us to abuse the dogs. That first dog I got from Battersea, the Lab Collie Cross, that was the first class I took my dog to, and he nearly destroyed my dog. By the time I realized it was awful, I mean, he had us hitting the dogs, and I'm hitting my dog because the trainer's telling me to, and I don't really even know why I'm hitting him. I couldn't see that he'd done anything wrong.
Oh.
But he would tell us to crack him. You'd have the handle over your hand like that, and he would tell you to crack them on the top of their head. And I was like an 18-year-old kid, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm hitting him for, but he didn't seem to do anything wrong to me. And by the time I eventually left that class, where I just thought, no, this just isn't right, my dog never really recovered from that class. And I think of how many people went to that guy before they realized that it was awful. And in fact, the next class I went to was run by somebody who had trained under him, who'd realized it was awful and went off and set up his own class. And I then went there with my dog, and it was very different. You weren't allowed to hit your dogs and be cruel to them and stuff. But for my dog by then, it was already too late. The damage was done. And I don't know how many people went through his classes that had their dogs ruined before people started to think, actually, there's a better way than this. You're not just beating them into submission. You're actually going to train them. And so again, we go back all that time ago, and his dogs were superbly well behaved. I mean, superbly. But you could see that fear in them all the time. He'd go, come, and they'd slink across the room at him. So I think that I can see why things have changed, because we had a lot of that sort of training back in the day. And I can see why people logically rebelled against that and said, no, this isn't okay.
Yeah.
But what we did, in my opinion, is we then swung too far the other way and actually created an even bigger problem.
I agree.
It's actually far worse. And if I think back to those days when people, whacked dogs with rolled up newspapers and scruffed them and all that, it was, I look back now and I did some of that stuff and I'm horrified. I'm not pretend otherwise. It was awful, but it was all I knew. It was what I'd been taught. And you just regurgitate what you're told, aren't you? The trainer says you hit the dog, you hit the dog. But dogs were better behaved. That's the irony. These dogs were better behaved. I think they were much more fearful, much more of the time. But what those dogs learned was that I only have to be fearful if I do the wrong thing. As long as I stay within these, kind of like the kids were. We grew up much more afraid of the world, because anybody could punish you. Random people on the street, if you're misbehaving, they could. But as long as you stayed within those parameters, you weren't afraid because you knew you weren't going to get punished. You only got punished if you did the wrong thing. And I think what's happened now is we've swung so far the other way to where nobody has any fear. But fear is an important survival tool. Fear helps you to make better choices. And there's a difference between being fearful or being corrected or being abused.
Yeah.
And I think that we've gone too far the other way. And it's actually made things worse. We've never had so many people being attacked. We've never had so many dogs being put to sleep. We've never had so many dogs in rescue. We've never had so many people being killed. And I think it's because we're bringing up this animal that can kill us to have no fear. Well, that's probably not a good idea.
No, agreed. 100%. I mean, I remember my son's 32 now. So he was born in 95. And I remember really clearly that legislation that came out, or not legislation, but that you can't smack your child. I was a young mum at that point.
We do.
And I remember thinking, no way. This
is not going to end well.
This is not, he's got to be able to know the difference between right and wrong. And I've got to be, when he defies me, there's going to be it's a consequence. I'm not going to pick up a belt and smack him around the head with it, but there's got to be a consequence that he's going to listen to. If he thinks a slap around the back of the legs is going to hurt him, and I tell him not to do something, he's not going to do it. Whereas if he thinks all I'm going to do is say, okay, then don't do it, then he's going to do it. So, and it's 100% the same with the dogs. And I totally agree. I think, I think we were in a mess. I think a lot of this really extreme force-free training. I mean, and there's extreme and extreme, isn't there? I mean, there's a thing now where people are saying the dogs have to make all their own choices and all that, which is absolutely, that's just what is that? But these, you know, very kind of extreme force-free trainers, I think they're doing just as much damage now
Yeah, yeah.
as, like you said, your trainer back in the day was doing the other end of the spectrum.
I'm sure we all agree. We all love the concept, the idea of force-free training.
Of course.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah.
But it doesn't work.
And our dogs don't
What
live
happens is we
force-free, do
accept it
they?
doesn't work.
Yeah.
Our dogs are living unnatural lives, aren't they? And I think from where I sit, and I was a mum later than you, Vic, so this was already, you know, entrenched. But what it did, or what it does, you know, I'm just not. I don't think I've ever lashed out at anybody or anything, but with my kids, it would always have me in a position where boundaries and respect was everything. Because and this is the thing, right? This is what I think is missing. We have mostly open plan houses now. Even flats are often designed open plans. There's no kind of physical restrictions. It's more than accepted that dogs are expected to come in and sit on your sofa with you and run up to your friends and family at the front door. So the basic guidelines are not there. So the dog doesn't actually know what they need to be fearful of. And what I see is, and I will say this to a client when I go through the door, if you want me to correct your dog's behavior, that it's barking at the front door and biting your guests, etc., don't expect me to do that when you're allowing them to sit on the back of your sofa and bark at everybody walking past. Because how the hell do you expect your dog not to be on guard and protect the front of your property if you're allowing that trajectory to start with? So it all starts with your basic manners. I can shout and scream all day long at my kids about how messy their bedrooms are, but if they genuinely don't do something, or they do something that I don't like, which is, I don't even know, I can't even give you an example there, I'm very lucky, but if they did, I'm silent. I shut down because I'm really loud and animated. That is, they're apologizing for something in a heartbeat if that happens. So, and it's the same, kind of the same with the dogs. And I just don't think, I think training is amazing, and I'm quite different to Vic, Rob, and probably you, because I I'd think about it, but getting dogs to bring washing out of washing machines, and you know, all the stuff that I see on Britain's Got Talent, I think that's amazing, but I don't have the patience or time or probably knowledge base to do that. But what I can do is feel the energy that's in my space and know where I need to step up and say that's enough, and what does a consequence look like. So I guess what you see now is dogs just being set up to fail. You know, opportunistic predators being given opportunities to fall into predation because their breed characteristics are not recognized. They're anxious, so they're on that tipping point and need an outlet for that all the time. And it's just spiraling and spiraling. And sadly, I think trainers come into the industry with some amazing quality. I pick up after other trainers and behaviorists, and I'm like, yeah, that would be amazing, but your dog's not ready. You've got no cognitive learning in your dog, so don't expect it to learn X, Y, and Z. So, you know, just understanding the dog from a psychological level is not being taught at all. You know, and I think they're coming out. You're a behaviorist, you're a trainer. You got to have a dog that is on a platform to listen to your training first. And if you can't get there, it kind of fails. It's just,
100%.
it's a mess with kids as well. It's the same with the kids, right? It's not just
Yeah.
dogs.
Yeah.
But like
I
you
think
said,
sometimes things are every bit as simple as they seem, you know, and we're being told almost, or being force-fed, that no, it's much more complicated than that.
exactly.
But
That's
is it
really
though?
good.
Is it though? It seems pretty simple to me. I need to
Yeah,
tell him what I like and what I want him to do. And just as importantly, I need to tell him what I don't like and I
exactly.
don't want him to do. I can't afford to wait for him to work it out himself, because what if he doesn't, you know?
Yeah.
So I have to tell him, I want you to do this, and I'm going to reward that behavior if you do that. And of course, that's vitally important. I need to reward him for the right behavior so he understands that repeating that is a good thing. But I also need him to see that you're not allowed to do that. You're not.
Yeah.
I don't want to teach him bite inhibition because I don't want his biting inhibited. I need it to stop. You have to stop biting. Biting
Yeah.
is not okay. Any more than if my child were pulling other children's hair, I'd want to inhibit his hair pulling. No, you can't pull other children's hair. That's just not something you can do. And I don't know why we're being told we have to make it more complicated than that. And I see so many dogs in rescue that I always imagine, if I could say to him, why are you here? He would say, I have no idea. And I'd say, well, it's because you wouldn't stop mouthing the children. And so they gave up on you. They tried lots of training. They watched lots of YouTube videos that said, how they were supposed to get you to stop doing that by distracting you or click and treating you when you'd finished mauling the kids, but none of it worked, so they got rid of you. And
Yeah.
he would say, well, why didn't they tell me?
Yeah,
Why didn't they tell
absolutely.
me I
That's
wasn't
such
allowed
a
to
good
do it?
analogy.
And I'd say, but they weren't supposed to tell you. You were supposed to work it out. And he'd say,
Yeah.
well, but I didn't. And I said, well, that's why you're here, because you didn't figure it out. And I think,
But
why didn't we just tell them?
they're all in, the dogs are in rescue because they're being dogs. That's why
Absolutely.
they're in rescue. They're just being dogs, and
They're doing
people don't
totally
like it.
dog behavior. Yeah.
They're peeing in the house. Well, that's a dog. That's what a dog does. They're biting. That's what dogs do. They're barking. That's what dogs do. They're fighting with other dogs. That's what dogs do. Some of them, they're digging the garden. That's what I mean. They're in rescue because they're dogs, being dogs.
And yet we do it with our children. Well, most responsible parents do it with their children all the time. No, give that back. That's not yours. You're supposed to share. No, don't pull her hair. We mentor them on how to grow up appropriately.
Yeah.
But the dog has got to figure it all out himself. And of course he doesn't, because he's not even as intelligent as the children. And if the children aren't getting it right, what chance has the dog got? So we've got loads of screwed up kids and loads of screwed up dogs. And I think I remember when my son was a toddler and he just started being mobile and crawling around. And in those days, we had a thing called a video recorder.
I remember those.
And yeah, we all want to say we don't remember them, but we do.
Oh, yes.
And he started crawling towards it. And, I'm not ashamed to say, I looked at what was about to happen and I thought, what would I do if this was my dog going to touch something that he shouldn't touch? And you know what I did? He had his back to me and he was just reaching his little hand forward. And I went, and he jumped and he looked around and I went, danger, danger. He was only like a year and a half. He didn't even understand what the word danger meant.
Yeah.
But that was it. From then on,
yeah,
every time he
exactly.
went to touch something he shouldn't touch, I'd go, danger. And you'd see him go, I go, good boy. And I give him a nice little doggy treat. But
Yeah, a chucky drop.
absolutely. And but we didn't have those security things you put in the plugs and the locks on the cupboard door things. We just told them not to touch it.
Don't touch it. Exactly.
Don't touch it.
Don't compromise your life, right?
And he learned. I remember when he was like 14, he got his first girlfriend. I was like, danger, danger, danger. Didn't work. It didn't work.
No, funny that.
But we kept it very simple, is my point. We said, don't touch that. Bad things will happen. And it's one of the things I talk about on my courses. I say, you ask any adult lion, what's the problem with snakes? Your belly's growling, you haven't eaten for days. Why can't you eat snakes? And if I asked them that, what would every single one of them say? Don't know. Mum just told us we shouldn't eat them.
Yeah, don't need to know, do they?
How do other animals do that? And their kids go, okay, if you say, I won't do that then. And ours will be stuffing the snake in their mouths as fast as they could.
Why?
We can treat them to get them to drop it, and they're dead. How is that happening? Every other animal, the parents say what to do, they listen. Our dogs do exactly the opposite. You say, don't dig holes, it's dangerous. And he's digging away.
Yeah.
What's gone wrong?
I don't know. It's quite upsetting, really. It has gone horribly wrong. But hey, what can we do? What can we do to fix this? So, Rob, are you okay to talk about the dog borstal stuff?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because I remember it. I can't. My memory's like a sieve, but I do remember the military styly. I remember you on it. But I don't know masses about it, if I'm really honest. I remember the people used to go and they used to stay there, didn't they? And it was kind of a take on military management of them. But yeah, kind of how did you get into that? What's your feelings? What was your feelings about it at the time? And also kind of when you reflect on it now, what do you think? Because I don't know how it all ended or anything really, but
Okay.
I'm sure there'd be issues if it came back on the TV now, as with everything, right? Barbara Woodhouse. Most of my clients don't even know who Barbara Woodhouse is.
I'm not sure today's people are necessarily ready for a new series of dog borstal.
No.
No, that'd be hilarious.
Well, maybe they should be, right?
Well.
Yeah.
So apparently the way it started was the producer was actually making a show at the PDSA at the time. And they'd had a dog in that had jumped out of a window and broken its leg. And so they were filming this dog on the show being treated, and the dog went home. And then a few days later, it was back in because it jumped back out the window and broken another leg.
Oh, God.
And they were filming this for this show on the PDSA, and just some random person said, that dog needs to go to doggy borstal. And that's where the idea grew. And the producer then thought, like, we should do some kind of doggy Borstal show. And so they developed this idea about the show, and they started contacting trainers saying, do you think it could be done? And the idea was that people would come there for a week and stay there for a week and be trained on how to train their dogs. Do you think it could be done? And would you do it? And the three of us were three of the few, apparently, that said, yes, it could be done, and we would be prepared to do it. The reason it had that kind of military feel was really just down to budget. It was a pilot show. The BBC weren't going to spend any money on it they didn't have to spend. So they weren't going to arrange accommodation. So we were all supposed to stay in tents because they could just put them on this site and leave them there. And I was like, do I look like I do camping? That's not going to work for me. So I said straight away, I'm out. You have to find somebody else. I camped once. I vowed I'd never do it again. Horrific. You know, why would I've worked very hard in my life. Why would I want to live like a homeless person? It just doesn't make sense to me. So I said, no, forget it. I'm not pooing in some porta lava. No. But that was where the whole tents and things came from. It was just because there was no money. But it was supposed to be, because it was dog Borstal, it was supposed to be tough trainers, you know, three of Britain's toughest trainers. And I think, really, am I one of those?
No.
I never really thought of myself as a tough trainer. So by the end of the series, they decided it was kind of two tough trainers and a kind of middle of the road one. So that was kind of how the whole idea came around. But it did create some real problems in training, as far as I was concerned, because it gave that impression that you just have to rattle a can with some pebbles in it, or spray them with a spray collar, or get them to do some agility, and the dog's fixed.
Yeah.
That's it. And every series I would complain about the fact that the people who did the show loved it. It was life-changing. I'm still in touch with a lot of them even now. They loved it. They learned so much. They never forgot it. But to me, it was missing the point. And the reason why I did it was because I'd never seen a show before where they had three different trainers all training at the same time. You only ever had a show with one trainer, and they said, this is how you did it. But what if that didn't suit this owner, or what if that didn't suit this dog? And so the reason I agreed to do that particular show was because it suggested that if it wasn't working, maybe it was just the approach. But now you've seen two other approaches with two other trainers doing the same thing. So maybe Rob's way wouldn't suit my dog, but maybe Mick's would, or Debbie's would. There are other ways of training. And that's why I like the idea of this show, that there would be three people, in theory, training dogs with similar problems, so people could see lots of different ways. But if you're not going to put the training in the show, then what's the point? And that was what drove me mad, was all the training would be edited out, and the people snotting and crying or going to go at us, that would go in. And they might show, you know, the end of it where I rattle a can and the dog stops doing it. But the people needed to know how to do that. So every week we would be explaining all this stuff to them. We would do whole sessions on diet and exercise, and all of which would be edited out.
Yeah, it's boring, right? Doesn't make sense.
Because they said, yeah, the public don't want to see that. They just want to see the entertainment bits. And so we did 3 series, and then the 4th one, I said, okay, if you don't make this one significantly more educational, I'm not doing another one. And so they put in a tiny bit. If you watch the 4th one, you'd see there was some stupid bits they added in to try and make it look. And so after that, I said, no, I'm not doing any more. It's not what I signed up for. I want people to be able to watch this and fix their own dogs. I don't want people to have to pay a trainer or go into rescue, or I want them to be able to fix it. And if you're not going to show that, there's just no point. So that was kind of why it ended, because they felt that after 4 series, people kind of knew the format, and that if any of us weren't there, it wouldn't work as well. And I said, well, then I'm not doing it. So it came to an end, and I don't regret it at all. But I think it did. You know, every other person now has got a rattle can, and every other person's using it really badly, because I thought the show would show people how I use it, so that you literally go, and the dog goes, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But instead, you see people crashing and banging and all that, because they saw this tool seem to work a miracle, but didn't get to see how to do it. So that's always the problem with these type of shows. This kind of formula that's always out there is it just creates this perception that there's this miracle cure. You can take this dog that's killed 17 people, and you just use this or just use that, and the dog's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And then people try that, they find it doesn't work, and they give up on the dog.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a real problem with that.
That's just reminded me of something, this funny thing that I just will never forget as long as I live. I was actually training Hoagie in the park, local park, and he was amazing anyway. But we were doing some distance downstays and practicing fundamentally practicing recall. And I was blowing my whistle. Anyway, this guy had stopped to watch, and he'd been there about 5 or 10 minutes, and Hogan was just push button. He was amazing. And when I finished, I called him over. We had a game, and then I popped him on the lead, and we were off. And he came running over to me afterwards. He went, and I was thinking, yeah, I know you've been watching me. I bet I'm well proud of my dog. You know what he said? He went, I must ask you. I'm like, what? I'm a trainer, yeah. Where did you get your whistle? I went, what? He went, that whistle you're using, I've never seen anything work so well to get a dog
Wow.
that whistle. And he was dead. I mean, I laughed, but he was deadly serious. I went, they're an Acme whistle, just get it on Amazon.
Wow.
Like, seriously, the hours that have gone into creating the relationship and the understanding, the communication that I can do a 200-foot away recall and downstay. Oh, no. No,
The whistle.
I mean, but that's it. People just want something to buy on Amazon or Google that will just fix their problem, right? And I think, I don't know, I've very much niched my business now to work with clients that will 100% commit. I'm very lucky in that I've put myself, so I probably see less clients than I ever used to, but they're phenomenal clients who I know that they're all in before I even start. If you get through my initial introductory email, it's as wordy as I am, and we're all in, we're doing this, and we're going to fix it. But I just don't think people have got the time, inclination, energy.
But then going back to what we were talking about before, I think sometimes they're putting in the work and they're putting in the energy, but if you're given the wrong advice, it really doesn't matter how hard you work at it, you're not going to see. I was staying with some friends recently, and we went to take their dog for a walk, and we were just going down to the beach near where they live, and there was this guy stood on the corner with a little mini schnauzer, and what it would do is bark and bark and bark and bark at everyone walking past, and then it would look up at him and sit, and he would give it a treat.
Yeah, he thought it
for stopping,
Yeah.
And then it would sit there for a while, and it'd go, and the guy would say, of course, no, you're not barking, so you don't get anything. So then the dog would look around and go, okay, healed him. And then it would look back at him, and he'd give it another treat for stopping. And we were watching this for a little while, and there was this woman on the other side of the road as we were coming down, standing watching it too. So my friend went to her and went, look at that. Somebody's trained that dog to do that. And of course, she meant it. So somebody's trained that dog to bark for food.
Yeah.
And she went, yeah, I'm his trainer.
Oh,
like,
no.
Oh, nice.
And she looked straight at me and she went, Rob, don't say anything. Don't say anything. I'm like,
oh, it's so hard though, isn't it?
Okay, I can just walk past. I can do this. But I wanted to say, do you think you're training his dog to not bark at people? And can you not actually see that you have trained the dog to bark at people for
they
food?
can't.
And this is one of the things that I'm sure you're fully aware of, we see all the time. We all understand what positive reinforcement is. It's designed to make the dog repeat a behavior, and you reward it to get it to do that behavior again. If you've got a dog who barks at stuff, and then as soon as it stops barking, you feed it.
Yeah.
Do you really not see that you're actually rewarding that behavior?
I know.
But it would appear not. And owners are told to do this all the time. Reward him for stopping. If he jumps up on people, wait till he stops jumping and then click and treat him. You think, do you really think that's not teaching the dog to jump up and then get down for food? Do you not see that? But I think because, again, going back to some styles of training that we see today, because they only have distraction and management to use as training tools, that's all they can offer, because they can't tell the dog to stop it.
Yeah.
I know there's a particular organization, training organization in this country, I know that's very highly respected, and they have all over their website that their trainers are not allowed to use any form of aversive, but they know that most of theirs do, but they literally tell them, just don't tell anyone. You can use them, but just don't tell anyone you use them. So we can say that our trainers don't use them. So they can come out and see you and quietly tell you to do this, that, and the other, but they can't tell other trainers, they can't tell other organizations. They have to perpetuate this myth that all their trainers are force-free when they know it's not true. And I think, well, if you know it's not true, why are you kind of setting people up to fail by encouraging people to do a technique that you, as the board of this organization, yourself know don't work?
Mm.
You know it doesn't work. Well, why aren't you thinking about the impact on those owners? And I don't know about you, but I get clients who contact me because they've seen that I will use aversives, and we shouldn't confuse aversives with abuse. We're often told that anyone who uses aversives is abusing the dog, and you think,
Yeah.
really, really, me shaking a can with some pebbles in it, that's abuse, is it? He hears louder noises than that walking down the street. Should I
Yeah.
not walk him? Should I not take him out? Because he might have a car backfire or a motorbike go past,
Mm.
and that might upset him. It's just ridiculous. We've just swung too far the other way. I get why people have done it. I do.
I
I
do
think back to
too.
my early days, and I get why they do it. But you're creating a much bigger problem than the one we already had, and we have to stop pretending that that's not happening.
Yeah, I agree with creating a monster.
Mm,
I wish people would, like you've said about people, you know, saying they're force free and behind the curtains they're not. That's the biggest. It's such a lie. It's such a problem.
yeah, yeah.
And if everybody was just honest, we wouldn't have this massive divide in the dog training world, and we'd all be able to work together and actually help dogs. But the
When I
moment,
was running my residential courses, on virtually every course, I had at least, and I used to take up to 10 people on a course, one of them at least would be a force-free trainer
yeah, we get
who
them.
would come on my course.
Yeah,
And it's because they kind of knew that
yeah,
what they were doing wasn't working,
yeah,
but they wanted to quietly find out how to actually fix dogs. And I always welcomed them because I think I'd much rather you did that than just kept failing those dogs.
yeah.
So I was happy for them to come on and do it.
Mm.
And if they wanted to keep it quiet, that was up to them. But I just needed to have people that could go out there and effectively train dogs. And if that meant they were going to keep it quiet and I was never going to expose them for doing that, I'm okay with that, because the priority was that the dogs got helped.
Yeah.
And if I had refused to have them on the course, or if I told them they have to come clean and tell everyone, what would happen is they wouldn't have done the course and
Mm.
they'd have kept on screwing up other people's dogs.
Yeah.
So, but it was that fear from them of, but if people know, I had one woman who'd done my course. She had a dog, her own dog, that was feral. He was out of control. She ran her own force-free dog training business. Her dog, she couldn't even have him lie in a bed without him jumping up on the table and messing up all her work and stuff. But she's running her own business, telling you how to train. She did my course,
Yeah.
and the following week put up a video of her dog just calmly lying in the bed beside her while she was working. And one of her force-free friends saw the video and said, "How have you got him to do that?" And she said, "Oh, well, I did Robert Alleyne's course, and this we had in 2 days." And the person unfriended her, told her to never contact her again, and then blocked her. I can't be friends with somebody like you that would go on a course where they show you how to use aversives. And she's like, "But look at my dog.
Yeah. He's
He's not
happier.
stressed. He's not angry. He's not
Yeah.
upset. I haven't had to hit him or abuse him. I just had to teach him to stop that."
Mm.
And she said, "No, we're done. Never spoke to her again."
But people know it's
Appalling.
wrong. Like they come to you, don't they? And I'll give them a different analogy. You know, okay, if you're frightened of flying and somebody's offering you 100 quid, is that really going to get on top of your fear? Take the 100 quid, sit in the seat, and you'll be off. Like when the plane goes to take off, you're out, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know what? As soon as you give an analogy like that, they go, of course. And why is your dog gonna, sit and look at you in its most stressed out state? It's going to be unable to take the thing, whatever you're using, whether it's toy, praise, food, whatever, from you in that moment of anxiety anyway. So what are you actually trying to look to achieve here? And they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, it's amazing how malleable people are, which
Yeah.
is great when you know your stuff and you're humble enough to be respectful of, lifestyles and everything else that's involved in this job. But for people that are coming in, with it's one dimensional, right? There's no
Yeah.
wrong with giving treats. We all
Yeah.
give treats. Give
Mm-hmm.
treats, tons of treats to my puppy.
Absolutely.
3 calls amazing because of it. But ultimately, there's lots of other stuff going on at the same time. Stop going underneath my sofa, you little because that's going to be a problem, right? Because he's going to go under there at some point and someone will put their hand under and he'll remember that he's a terrier.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we'll stop him at the point he thinks about going under the sofa. So there's a lot of organic stuff that's going on as well as, which I just think is just getting pushed to one side, because if trainers were taught the organic stuff, which doesn't have to be over the top, then fine, your positive reinforcement's great. But I just think there are core elements of dog management, dog understanding, dog skill that are just missing in most situations. And they're just
Yeah.
coming out with the one thing in their locker. And when it doesn't work,
So
blame the client, right?
something we hear all the time from our clients is, oh, I think the trouble is I've been treating him like he's my child, haven't I? And I
Yeah.
say, no, you haven't, because if you had, I wouldn't be here. I say, where is your child now? They go, oh, he's upstairs in his room. And I say, why is he upstairs in his room? Well, because I told him that the grown-ups were talking, I didn't need him in here. I said, so why is the dog lying on your lap on the sofa, languishing, having his belly
That's a good
rubbed?
one.
The problem is that you're treating him better than you treat your child. Your child could never get away with doing half the stuff this dog is doing. If you were treating him like your child, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
The problem is you're treating him better. If you said to your child, go and do that, and your child went, ask me again and I'll think about it, that probably
Yeah.
wouldn't end well.
It's
The
so
dog
true.
does it every single day. Get down. Come on, get down, down. Come on, down. Good boy. Down, down, down. Good, good. Okay, where are the treats? I said, tell
Yeah.
me you would ever do that. If your child went, yeah, I'm not doing that, you go, okay, let me get my purse out. Oh, you've got a big. You're treating the dog better. And that's why the dog is worse behaved than the child. And the reality is, I suspect upwards of 99% of dog trainers are not force free
They can't be, can
They
they? Because
can't
don't
because
be.
it
don't
wouldn't
get
work.
any results
It
at
wouldn't
all.
work.
No,
You go
because
out the front door, you want to go left, the dog goes right. If you were force free, you would have to go right too.
Yeah.
And then when you got to the end of the road, you want to go right so you can do around the block, but he goes left. You'd end up in Timbuktu
Yeah, yeah,
because you
you're absolutely
couldn't
right.
force him. He's not eating the stuff he finds on the street because he's not allowed. We force them all the time. No dog ever said, "Oh, please, can you take me to the vets and you to me, please? This stuff's just getting in the way. I don't want it." They're forced to do stuff all the time that they don't want to do. How could you brush a puppy? Because they don't like being brushed initially. You have to teach them to like being. So would you never brush it? You force them all the time. We
Yeah,
are actually the silent majority. The majority of trainers are balanced, prama, call them whatever you want. We
yeah,
understand that while you must reward the dog, and it's essential, particularly in teaching new behaviors, you have to reward them, but you have to sometimes say, stop it. No positive only trainer is going to see their dog jumping up on the counter to pick up a sharp knife that's got meat juice on it and say, I'm going to hold this clicker, and when he's finished with the knife, I'm going to click and treat him for stopping it. They're going to do what you or I would do and go, get up, because it's dangerous. So we just should own up and just say, okay, we sometimes have to tell a dog to stop it in a way that's not abusive, but says that this isn't an option.
make
And
sure.
then just get on with it.
Yeah,
But the problem is the force-free kind of evangelists are out there screaming, no, you should never tell a dog it should, you mustn't, da, 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 da. And because they're so vehement, the rest of us have just kind of gone, oh, I can't be asked with it. Just let them
no.
say what they want. Let them
But
say what they want.
no, we do because
It's
they're
death
so
threat
loud
level though,
and
isn't it? They're sending death threats to people, and it just gets. Who was it, Vic? When we were on our conference, one of the we don't need to name them, but one of the trainers there was saying that her boss, she works in a training school, and her boss is very balanced, very knowledgeable, great reputation, but somebody in the force free community got wind that she was using slip leads or whatever.
Mhm.
Literally, she was having to get court orders against them,
Wow.
coming off social media, and because it just escalated, because she's quite big and has a good reputation, is probably earning
Mm,
decent money, they're jealous, right? They don't
mm,
like that. So it's just a platform for people to bring other people down. It's just
yeah,
really,
yeah.
it's really, really upsetting in such an emotive industry. Oh, I don't know
And
how
you
you
know
feel.
what's so ironic is that force-free principle has probably caused the deaths of thousands and thousands more
Definitely.
dogs than any of these people who they're targeting ever will.
Yeah.
And how many times we heard things like, well, we'll try this positive only technique, but if it doesn't work, you may have to put the dog to sleep.
Yeah.
And how many times have I had people who've been told that
Yeah.
if distracting
Yeah.
him and ignoring it doesn't work, we couldn't possibly use any sort of
Yeah.
aversive
That's the
because
reason.
that would be cruel.
Yeah.
But you can kill him. Killing
Yeah.
him's okay,
Yeah.
but just don't do something that might upset him or frighten him in any way.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't work, take him to. And you're like, does that make sense even to you?
Yeah. No,
That
that's what they say though. That
it's
is exactly.
unbelievable.
you can't
Yeah.
believe people actually believe that stuff, can you? It's just
I think by the time most people go to a trainer, they're pretty demoralized. They're
Yeah.
desperate, especially us at our level, with, behavior being at the forefront, not just sit, stay stuff, lay down. I think they're just desperate for something that's going to work. They'll just believe anything. And if somebody's convincing, yeah, if you keep doing this, I've had clients doing the same stuff. I had one girl on antidepressants, 2 years. 2 years, she was coming home from work, picking her dog up, taking it in the house, going out of the front door with a pot of treats. And if the dog didn't bark, we had separation anxiety, right? Because she basically sat on the sofa with her all night when she got home from work, and she didn't fix that. But what she did do was try and separate herself the minute she went in. So if the dog didn't bark, she'd go back in and reward it at the front door. And if it did, she'd just not give it a treat, send it back against the bed or something, and then go and do it again on repeat. And she was spending half an hour, 45 minutes on that every night, 2 years in. Oh, and what the hell? It was done within 48 hours. I just said to
Wow.
her, this is not working. And what she was told by the trainer is, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. You need to do it like this. You need to do it like that. And I just, you get these broken people. I've
Yeah.
never seen so many broken people because of their dog in the last year as I have this last year. Like, it's heartbreaking. These people are absolutely moving house. There, one girl had fibromyalgia. I have several that are already on antidepressants solely because of the dog.
Mm,
Because
Yeah.
mm,
and these are A-type personality people who've got their puppy. It's been put on pharmaceuticals at 7, 8 months old because of its
wow.
distress. There's no formal training other than, yeah, that's amazing. Here's a treat. And let's give the treat as a distraction because that's what they're fed on every algorithm they sit and
Hmm.
see.
Hmm.
And when it's impacting people's lives to this level, they're trying and trying, and I'm just like, what can we do about this? Because what we are not doing, or I don't know, I'm sure you guys are not either, is sitting there saying, slagging off every dog trainer in the planet, which is what they do, right? They'll call out somebody and then they'll slag them off and it goes all over social media. And that's just not who I am either. I talk
Mm,
about me and what I
mm.
stand for, and that's it. So I don't know how you flag up the severity of what's going on. Rob, in your academy, is it all dog trainers that come for courses, or are you seeing dog owners as well?
No, I get a really wide demographic. I get owners who don't ever want to be dog trainers or behaviorists. They just want to understand more about dogs or maybe just their own dog.
Yeah,
I get actually probably the biggest demographic of people I get doing my courses, and the courses are online now. So, of course, it's much more accessible to people than the residential ones were. But probably the biggest demographic I get is dog walkers who want to understand better how to
wow,
manage the
that's
dogs that
good.
they're walking. Again, they don't necessarily want to become a dog trainer or a behaviorist. They just want to understand the dogs that they're working with every day
Yeah,
better. But no, I get groomers, walkers, vet nurses, all sorts of people. And that was why I started running the courses, was because I realized that I was never going to be able to make enough of a difference on my own. I knew that the way I saw it was different to the way that a lot of people did.
yeah,
And I thought I need to get that out, not to the owners, trying to do it one at a time,
yeah,
as we've all been alluding to, trainers need better advice on how to help their clients, whether it's a
yeah,
dog walker with their client. And to me, they're all dog trainers. If you're teaching that dog something, you're training dogs. So whether it's a dog walker who wants to be able to help this dog and then be able to advise the owner without ever becoming a dog trainer or a behaviorist themselves, or whether it's that vet nurse who wants to better be able to handle dogs in the surgery, or it's the trainer who's seeing loads of clients but not getting very far. I wanted a course that would kind of be able to help all of those people so that it come out with better understanding of how we can help dogs. And I'm sure you both are familiar with a guy who died not very long ago named John Rogerson.
yeah.
And he changed my whole dog training ethos. And this is like probably 25, 30 years ago. And he was relatively unknown in those days. And he was doing a talk at an evening class, a dog training class that I used to go to. And he threw this absolute grenade in that he knew was going to affect everyone in the hall. And he went, it's like those dog training classes who do the weaving exercise. And he knew that every single dog trainer in that room was doing that exercise those days. You know, where you got the owners to weave in and
Yeah,
out.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just said it and he paused because he knew we'd all be going, what's wrong with that exercise? And
Mm.
I was still doing it because I'd been taught it. This is a good socializing exercise. And so I was doing this and I was kind of waiting for somebody to say it and nobody did. So I kind of very sheepishly put my hand up and said, can I ask what's wrong with the weaving exercise? Because I do it in my class with my owners. I was taught it was a good socializing exercise. And do you know what he said? And it was the best piece of dog training advice I've ever been told. He said, I'm not going to tell you. He said, if you want to know what's wrong with it, go and look at it.
Hmm.
And that was life-changing for me because I did. I went back to my class the following week and I thought, okay, so I got somebody else to take the class. And I thought, I'm just going to watch because this is nothing wrong with this. This is a good socializing exercise. And it was absolute bedlam. And there were two particular dogs, a Weimaraner and a German Shepherd. And when each of those dogs started to weave, the other one was up on its hind legs, roaring and barking, and they're trying to get. And you do that thing of no, just go round. No, don't try and weave through there. No, don't, no, go round. Because those dogs, if they got to each other, would have killed each other. And I realized when I watched it that those two dogs weren't like that when they came. They'd actually learned this in my class. So I got them to stay behind after the class and I started talking to them. And the woman with the Weimaraner said, it's funny because now not only does he dislike that German Shepherd, he hates all German Shepherds.
Yeah.
And the German Shepherd owner said the same thing. If he sees a Weimaraner now, and I thought, geez, these people have paid me. They've paid me to make their dogs better, and I've made their dogs dangerous, you know? And I was so horrified by what I saw. And the thing was, as soon as the trainer said, right, let's get you up for the weaving exercise, these dogs leapt up, roaring, but they knew what was coming. This is, I'm going to get you this week. I nearly got you last week. I'll get you this week. Yeah, bring it on. You think you're hard. Come on then, come on.
Yeah.
And I thought, they've learned this in my class. And you know what? I was so appalled that 2 weeks later, I closed the club.
Wow.
And I realized, it was the first step in me realizing that I was actually a really rubbish dog trainer. I thought I was good, but in fact, I was terrible. Because then I looked at all the other exercises that I was teaching and I realized they were all rubbish. You know, why do I teach a recall where you get the owner to put the dog in a sit, tell it to wait, walk over there, turn and face it, and then call it and get it to sit in front of them and get it to do a finish? When did any of us ever need to call our dog when he was in a sit looking at us?
No, you don't.
Yeah, you don't.
You don't.
When's
Only
that ever going to happen? Why am I teaching it?
Yeah.
And all the exercises, I just realized they were all, why do all the owners have to have their dog on the left? When statistically, 60% of them are right-handed.
Yeah.
Why am I doing? And I just realized it was all rubbish. So I thought I have to close the class and learn how to do dog training. And if there's one thing you out there in TV land take on board, it's look at what you're doing. Don't just keep doing it and regurgitating it. Stop and take a look. Look back at all your previous clients and think, how many of those people that came to me with this problem, how many of them am I confident now that their dogs don't have that problem anymore? And if you honestly look back and recognize that that's not working, stop doing it. Stop doing it. It's not working. It may make you feel better, but no client pays you to feel good about yourself. They pay you to resolve that issue. And if what you're doing isn't resolving it, stop doing it until you learn how. And that's what I had to realize. I was failing all those people who were coming to my classes. And it's as a result of that recognition that I started to get better. And now I believe I am a good dog trainer.
Yeah.
But it took a long time.
I think being modest, you know, you always get to a point, don't you, where you have so much knowledge that you know you don't know everything. Like I find that whole thing really overwhelming. Like I've got enough knowledge that, you know, gets me by every day and I fix dogs every day and great. But the reason I do that is because I go, I'm just going to have a chat with your vet. Sit back and think about this for a minute and I'm going to reread that email. Like you can't, the industry is full of egos. And it's the one thing that destroys our ability to do our job. Like having no ego and being empathetic, sympathetic towards your client is the absolute key to being good. And questioning yourself all the time is where you need to be sitting. Are you at the point, Rob, given you've done it for eons, where you've demoralized, or have you found your niche now that keeps you happy? Or are you I know you don't like to stick your head above the parapet anymore, do you? So let's put you above that parapet quick.
Yes and no. I love what I do, and running the courses is my favorite thing. I love teaching other people to train. That is my favorite thing. And I'll do that until they count me out in a box. But yes, I'm demoralized with the advice that's being given to so many of these people. Again, it goes back to what I was just saying, is that people aren't self-reflecting and going, hang on, before I charge this person some more money, am I doing a good job? Am I doing a good job? And that I'm demoralized with the people who seem to be comfortable with going, no, I'm not, but it's paying the bills. I'll just keep doing it. And they don't stop and think about the repercussions for that owner and that dog.
Yeah.
That I find demoralizing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's, I think we all feel that. I think we're all in the same boat with that.
But I do think the tide is beginning to change, don't you? I find that once upon a time, if I put up a post saying force free training is a lovely theory, but it doesn't work, I used to get attacked from all sides by people who felt threatened by that. He's going to let people know that we're failing. And now I put them up and I don't get anything. And I'm sure those people are quietly off somewhere moaning about me or whatever.
Yeah.
But they don't. And I think it's probably because most of them are becoming more aware that this just isn't good enough. So I'm not there yet. I do see hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. I really believe there is.
Oh
But
my God, that's so good to hear. That's so
I do.
good. Well, I'm gonna be really positive with you because I'm not there yet. But on
No.
that note, I think we'll close. Thank you so much, Rob. It's been wonderful to listen to you. And
Thank you for having me.
no, you're really welcome. Thank you. It's been really cool. And yeah, Joe, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Thanks
can I
very
just
much,
say it's
Rob.
great to meet more kind of common sense people who
Yeah.
you're not making it any more complicated than it needs to be. And I love that. And yeah, the power to us because there's lots of us out there. We're just
Yeah,
I think
not
we
quite.
people
hide
need to
away,
just
Rob.
stand up and be counted, and
Yeah,
ultimately people need to say their truth because it's
yeah,
never going to change
Yeah.
if people keep lying
yeah,
and sitting behind a facade. That's the trouble.
yeah.
Um,
Indeed, indeed.
yeah.
Power to you, ladies. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank
Oh,
you
Appreciate
thank
it.
so
you,
much,
Rob.
Rob.
It's been an
Thank you.
absolute pleasure. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Take care then. Bye.
Take care. Bye.